In 2023, a politician named Sugita Mio received national attention for reposting a video on her social media that discriminates against the Ainu people. The Ainu people are the indigenous population of northern Japan with their own language and culture that's different from most Japanese people. The Ainu culture is said to have existed since the 12th or 13th century. Ainu is the word they use to distinguish themselves from the dominant ethnicity of Japan called the Wa people. When Japan began to modernize in the 19th century, Ainu territories were forcibly incorporated into the Japanese nation, and the Ainu people were forced to give up their indigenous culture, language, and way of living. The Ainu were required by the government to become Japanese in language and culture. In 2019, Japanese law officially recognized the indigenous status of the Ainu people for the very first time, which was a moment of long-awaited justice for a people who have suffered cultural genocide. Although the new law forbids discrimination against the Ainu, there is no penalty specified for anti-Ainu discrimination. As a result, this law has limited effect on stamping out anti-Ainu discrimination, which continues until this day. The anti-Ainu politician named Sugita Mio mentioned at the beginning of this video actually has a long history of anti-Ainu discrimination. In 2016, when she was attending a United Nations event, she published a blog post that called an Ainu activist dressed in traditional Ainu attire a cosplayer. In the same post, she also insulted Japanese activists with Korean ancestry dressed in traditional Korean attire. She said these activists who were dressed in their traditional cultural attire were an embarrassment to Japan. In 2023, her 2016 blog post was recognized by the legal affairs bureaus of Sapporo and Osaka as a human rights violation. Even after this development, she persisted in her anti-Ainu rhetoric and even accused Ainu people of stealing from public money. In response to her accusation, the government released a public statement saying that public funds dedicated to Ainu culture preservation are managed in the proper way. In an interview, she says she doesn't see a reason to apologize for anti-Ainu comments. This woman is Tahara Ryoko, and she is the Ainu activist who was accused of cosplaying. This is her photo at the 2016 United Nations event, dressed in traditional Ainu attire. Both her maternal and paternal grandmothers were Ainu. She says when she was younger, she used to hide her Ainu ancestry from the public view. When she got married, she didn't even tell her husband that she was part Ainu. When her husband came to her family home, she was afraid that he would discover her Ainu ancestry by seeing this photo of her grandmother in traditional Ainu attire. As she grew older, she decided to no longer hide her Ainu identity and became an activist to preserve Ainu culture. She understands that the blog post that accused her of cosplaying was meant to deny her Ainu identity and imply that she's only pretending to be Ainu. In today's Japan, denying someone's Ainu identity is a common strategy used by anti-Ainu bigots. This news segment examines this type of anti-Ainu hate and shows an example of a social media post accusing an Ainu person of faking his or her Ainu identity. In 2019, an anti-Ainu event was held in the northern city of Sapporo, which was even more insulting because this northern part of Japan is the heart of Ainu culture. The main theme of this event is to accuse people of pretending to be Ainu in order to enjoy certain privileges. It argues that the definition of Ainu is too blurry and anyone can claim to be Ainu. It also challenges the notion that Ainu people are indigenous.
アイヌ協会がハンコをついただけでアイヌになれるのは間違いありません。
This event was heavily protested by those who supported indigenous rights. There were even physical confrontations. In 2024, the same anti-Ainu group held another event in Sapporo, and the theme of this event is to deny Ainu's indigenous status and spread the false claim that Ainu people are lying about being indigenous. This event also attracted many protesters and led to confrontations. Organizers of the event deny allegations of hate speech by asserting that it's just about sharing information. Since the event did not allow journalists to attend, the news crew interviewed someone who attended the event to learn about the details. This anonymous person who attended the event says the event was focused on debating if the Ainu are actually indigenous. He doesn't see a problem in such debates. He accuses Ainu activists of inventing claims of anti-Ainu discrimination. This Ainu woman protesting the event hides her face in fear of retaliation. She is hurt by attacks not only against her, but also her Ainu ancestors. She thinks Ainu people need to start acting collectively to protect themselves from dangerous haters. This 89-year-old Ainu woman comes from an older era when anti-Ainu discrimination was a lot more explicit than today. She says when she was younger, people would call Ainu people inu, which means dogs in Japanese. She says she's so traumatized by this type of name calling that she feels pain whenever she hears the word Ainu. This 73-year-old Ainu woman had a similar experience growing up. She says when she was a child, people would taunt her by calling her Ainu. To protect Ainu children from discrimination, she built a study group for Ainu children. This Ainu man testifies to the importance of this type of study groups. He says going to school as a child was so painful because of the bullying and discrimination against Ainu. This teacher deeply understands the obstacles faced by Ainu children in school. He knows that Ainu children can't really concentrate on learning because they need to constantly worry about bullying. He helps Ainu children with their studies to give them a chance to study in a safe environment where they aren't bullied for their identity. This man recounts his father's experience of being Ainu while serving in the Japanese military during the era of the Second World War. He says his father went to war because he believed that by serving in the military, he would finally become a real Japanese person and be treated equally like the others. However, he was severely bullied in the military for being Ainu. His superiors would yell at him about not understanding Japanese properly. They even accused him of eating raw meat like an animal. He was treated like a freak of a circus show. Despite the extent of anti-Ainu discrimination in Japanese society, there are many people today who are willing to listen to and learn from the Ainu experience. This Ainu woman was invited to a middle school to speak about her experience with anti-Ainu bullying. After listening to her speech, the students expressed that they were deeply touched by her experience. This professor of Ainu studies says that there are many young people today who want to learn about Ainu culture. However, she still thinks it's problematic that many young people today know very little about Japan's dark history of oppressing the Ainu people.
あるいは信じられないっていう声がいっぱい出てきて、北海道に生きている若者でアイヌ民族に対する差別なんて知らないっていう人たちがいっぱい生まれてきたんだっていうのは私はすごくショックで。
Some indigenous rights activists are accusing the Japanese government of not doing enough to protect indigenous ways of life. This man is an Ainu activist who argues that Ainu people should not need permission from the Japanese government to fish in traditional Ainu territories. He argues that Ainu people have no obligation to follow Japanese laws that seek to impose restrictions on traditional Ainu activities like fishing. This man is a professor of indigenous studies. He says that Ainu people's right to fish in their own territories should be protected by the law according to international standards of how to treat indigenous people. He criticizes the Japanese government for not following international human rights standards when it comes to Ainu issues. I share a lot of additional information about Japan on Patreon, so please consider supporting me on Patreon if you like my content. Please like and subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you next time.